I woke before the alarm because silence felt louder than noise that morning. Today was her wedding, and every breath tasted like something unfinished. My phone buzzed beside the bed and my sister Lena said, "You don't have to go." "I do," I answered, staring at the ceiling. "If I hide, it means she wins." "She already left you," Lena whispered. "Why let her take more?" "Because I still need answers," I said. At the venue, music floated through glass doors like nothing terrible had ever happened. My old friend Marcus stood outside, hands buried in his coat. He looked at me the way people look at storms they cannot stop. "You came," he muttered. "You sound surprised." "I am," Marcus said. "Something about this wedding feels wrong." "Wrong because she invited her ex?" I tried to joke. "No," he replied, lowering his voice. "Because investors from your old company are inside." My stomach tightened. "They cut ties with me." "Exactly," he said. Inside, chandeliers glowed above smiling strangers. Cameras flashed, waiters moved like rehearsed shadows, and I kept telling myself to breathe. Then I saw her. Emily stood near the altar in white, laughing softly with the man beside her. Daniel, the investor who suddenly became her partner. When she noticed me, surprise flickered before disappearing behind perfect calm. "You actually came," she said when I approached. "You sent an invitation," I replied. "It was polite," she answered. "Polite doesn't explain betrayal," I said. Daniel stepped closer. "Today isn't the day for drama. I built half the ideas funding your expansion," I told him. "I think I earned 5 minutes." Emily sighed. "You always exaggerate." Before I could answer, Lena appeared beside me. "He doesn't exaggerate," she said. "He trusted you." Emily avoided her eyes. "I never promised forever." "You promised honesty," I whispered. Music swelled as guests filled seats. Marcus leaned toward me. "Listen," he murmured, nodding toward a group near the stage. 2 men argued quietly. "Transfer finalized after liquidation," one said. "The funds cleared through her account," the other replied. My pulse roared louder than the orchestra. Liquidation. My company collapsed months ago after mysterious withdrawals. I stepped closer, pretending to check decorations. "She secured ownership using his prototype patents," the first man added. "Risky move," the second said. "But marrying Daniel locks investors permanently." Air vanished from my lungs. Prototype patents. My prototypes. I stumbled outside and Emily followed. "You shouldn't have listened," she said sharply. "Tell me I misunderstood," I demanded. She crossed her arms. "Business requires courage." "You used my savings," I said, voice shaking. "You moved money before the bankruptcy." "You weren't strong enough to lead," she replied. "Investors trusted results." "I trusted you." Silence stretched between us like broken glass. "I gave you everything," I whispered. "And I turned it into success," she answered. "You should thank me." Daniel called from inside, "They're ready for vows." She hesitated before leaving. "You could have stood beside me," she added quietly. "I thought I already was," I said. When vows began, I sat beside Lena while Marcus watched the doors. "She stole you," Lena whispered. "No," I said, staring ahead. "She replaced me." Emily promised loyalty to Daniel, and applause filled the hall. Each clap felt like dirt falling over something still alive. My phone vibrated again. A message from an unknown number appeared. "Check the account history." I opened the attachment with shaking fingers. Transfers moved months before our breakup, routed through shell companies tied to Daniel's firm. My signature appeared everywhere, forged perfectly. Marcus leaned over. "What is it?" "Proof," I said, throat burning. "I didn't lose my company. It was taken." Across the aisle, Emily laughed during photographs. She looked radiant, untouched by guilt. Guests cheered as confetti fell like harmless snow. Lena squeezed my hand. "What will you do?" I watched Emily kiss Daniel while cameras flashed endlessly. "Nothing today," I answered. Marcus frowned. "That doesn't sound like you." "It isn't," I admitted. But revenge shouted too early sounds like desperation. "So what now?" Lena asked. I slipped the phone into my pocket, feeling something colder than heartbreak settling inside me. "Now I listen," I said. "Because if she built her future using my life, then someday she will have to hear my answer." I stood as applause thundered again, forcing a smile nobody believed. Outside the chapel, bells rang like a celebration meant for strangers. Marcus touched my shoulder. "Walk away," he urged. "I will," I said, watching petals scatter across marble steps. But first I need to understand every lie she told. Lena nodded slowly. Then promise me you won't lose yourself. I already did, I whispered, turning toward the exit. Now I just have to decide who walks out of here instead of him. Alive again. I stopped sleeping after the wedding. Nights felt longer when silence kept repeating her vows in my head. Bills covered my kitchen table like accusations. Every envelope carried another reminder that failure now wore my name. Lena called one morning. Have you eaten? I had coffee, I muttered. That's not food. Neither is humiliation, I said. But I've been swallowing plenty of that. She sighed. People talk. Ignore them. I tried, I answered. Hard when investors send rejection emails before breakfast. I hung up and opened another message. We regret to inform you. I deleted it before finishing. Later, I walked into the office building where my former colleague Aaron worked. The receptionist barely looked at me. I'm here to see Aaron, I said. She hesitated. He left instructions. What instructions? That he isn't available for you. I laughed quietly. Tell him I'm already here. Minutes later Aaron stepped out, arms crossed like I carried disease. You shouldn't have come, he said. I built that company with you, I replied. 5 minutes isn't unreasonable. He shook his head. Emily warned us you'd do this. Do what? Cause scenes, he said. She said the pressure broke you. My chest tightened. You think I'm unstable? I think investors don't lie, he answered. The financial mess happened under your leadership. She moved money before the collapse, I said. Check the dates. Aaron avoided my eyes. Look, she showed documentation. Signed approvals. Forgery exists, I snapped. He stepped back. You need help, man? Those words hurt more than insults. Security approached before I could answer. Outside, rain started without warning. I sat on a bench, soaked and shaking. Coffee helps storms, an old voice said beside me. I looked up at a small cafe window glowing warm against gray streets. Inside, an elderly man wiped cups slowly. I'm not hungry, I muttered. Good, he said. I sell coffee, not miracles. I almost smiled. He poured a cup anyway. First one is free when someone looks like they lost a war. I lost a company, I said. Same thing, he replied calmly. Sit. His name was Mr. Hahn. He never asked questions directly. That somehow made answers easier. She married my investor, I told him. He stirred sugar into my cup. Pain tastes worse without sweetness. She used my ideas, I continued. Everyone believes I failed. Do you? He asked. I hesitated. Sometimes. He nodded. Then their work becomes easy. Days passed there. I talked more than I meant to. She changed passwords weeks before leaving, I said one evening. I thought she was stressed. And now, he asked. Now I think she planned everything. The cafe door opened quietly. A woman in a gray suit stepped inside carrying a folder. You're difficult to find, she said softly. I'm not hiding, I replied. I'm Nora Hale, she introduced herself. Corporate attorney. I can't afford lawyers. I'm not here to bill you, she said, sitting across from me. I'm here because your bankruptcy file bothers me. Mr. Hahn placed tea between us and disappeared politely. What bothers you? I asked. She opened the folder. Transfer documents signed during your mental health leave. I never took leave. That's the problem, she said. My hands trembled. Explain. Someone submitted evaluations claiming emotional instability, she continued. Enough to justify temporary removal as CEO. That's insane, I whispered. Insane is effective when investors fear risk, she replied. Emily told them I was unstable, I said slowly. I cannot prove motive yet, Nora answered. But signatures and timestamps conflict. Anger burned behind my ribs. Can we expose her? She studied me carefully. You could attempt litigation now. Attempt? You lack resources, she said gently. She has investors. I laughed bitterly. Of course she does. Nora leaned forward. There's another option. I'm listening. Rebuild quietly, she said. Collect evidence first. And let her celebrate? I asked. Revenge shouted too early becomes noise, she replied. Her words echoed Marcus's warning from the wedding. After she left, I stared into cooling coffee. Mr. Hahn returned. Storm stronger? She told everyone I was unstable, I said. He shrugged. Many people fear calm men more than angry ones. I want to ruin her, I admitted. And afterward? He asked. I opened my mouth but nothing came out. That night I searched old emails. Password resets. Secret meetings. Small lies stacking into mountains. I remembered asking Emily once, why change accounts without telling me? She had smiled then. You worry too much. I slammed the laptop shut. Lena arrived unexpectedly. You look terrible. Honest feedback appreciated, I muttered. She sat across from me. What did the lawyer say? That I was professionally declared insane without knowing it. Her eyes widened. She destroyed you legally. Not completely, I said quietly. Then what happens now? She asked. I stared at unpaid bills, at forged signatures glowing on my screen, at the memory of applause during vows meant for another man. I decide whether ashes stay cold, I answered. And? I stood slowly, feeling exhaustion turn into something sharper. Ashes don't cry, I said. They burn. I met her because Nora insisted. You keep saying you want proof, Nora told me over the phone. Then stop avoiding the people who survived the same mess. I'm not avoiding anyone, I muttered. You canceled 3 meetings, she replied calmly. Show up today. The address led me to a quiet legal archive office above a printing shop. Dust floated in sunlight like forgotten memories. I almost turned around until a voice behind me said, running away again would be consistent with your reputation. I turned sharply. A woman stood near stacked files, sleeves rolled neatly, dark hair tied back without effort to impress anyone. I don't know you, I said. She tilted her head. That's accurate. You never notice people who weren't investors. That sounds like an accusation. It is, she replied calmly. Sit. I usually prefer introductions before commands. Fine, she said. My name is Sarah Malik. The name hit faintly familiar territory. You handled compliance audits for our startup, I realized slowly. Assistant compliance officer, she corrected. Invisible position. I remember meetings, I said weakly. You remember presentations, she answered. Not warnings. Nora entered carrying folders. Good. Nobody is yelling yet. I might start, I muttered. Sarah slid documents toward me. Look. Contracts filled with signatures I recognized, including mine. These are ownership amendments, she said. Filed weeks before bankruptcy. I never approved them. I know, she replied quietly. How? Because I refused to process them, she said. My chest tightened. Then why were they filed? She laughed without humor. Because refusing cost me my job. Silence stretched between us. You were fired because of Emily? I asked. Because I questioned Daniel's legal team, she corrected. Your fiancé supported their complaint. I swallowed hard. You could have contacted me, I said. She looked directly into my eyes. You never answered internal emails unless investors were copied. That stung because it was true. I trusted her, I said softly. And I trusted procedure, she replied. We both lost. Nora tapped another page. Multiple victims signed under pressure. Victims? I asked. Sarah nodded. Designers forced out. Engineers reassigned. Accounts drained through shell firms. Anger simmered again. Why come to me now? Because you finally stopped defending her, she said. The door opened loudly before I could respond. A tall man stepped inside, eyes sharp with suspicion. Sarah, he said firmly, you promised public offices only. She sighed. Relax, Imran. He looked at me like calculating risk. You're the ex-fiancé. I have a name, I said. And a reputation, he replied. Half the city thinks you collapsed under stress. I'm working on correcting that. He crossed his arms. My sister already paid enough for other people's ambition. I didn't ask her to lose her career, I said quietly. No, he answered. You just ignored the system that destroyed it. Sarah placed a hand on his arm. He's listening now. That remains to be proven, Imran muttered before stepping aside. Another knock followed moments later. A woman entered holding recording equipment. I hope I'm not late, she said brightly. Sarah groaned. Maya, this isn't a press conference. I'm a journalist, she replied. Everything becomes one eventually. She shook my hand. Corporate corruption investigation. Your story keeps appearing. I didn't volunteer for fame, I said. Good, Maya smiled. Truth rarely likes attention. Hours passed with documents spread across tables. They forged psychological evaluations, Nora explained. Maya recorded notes. Pattern suggests coordinated removal of founders. Sarah added quietly, emotional manipulation too. What do you mean? I asked. She hesitated. Emily studied people carefully. She rewarded loyalty publicly while isolating dissent privately. I remembered late nights when Emily insisted certain employees were negative influences. I helped her push people out, I whispered. Sarah met my gaze. Acknowledging that matters. I was arrogant, I admitted. No, she said softly. You were in love. Imran leaned against the wall. Same outcome. We found another contract linking Daniel's investment firm to shell accounts funding my supposed mental leave. They planned this months ahead, Maya murmured. My anger faded into something colder. So what happens next? I asked. Nora folded her hands. Evidence grows slowly. Sarah watched me carefully. Unless timing changes everything. What does that mean? I asked. She hesitated before speaking again. Emily's honeymoon charity gala happens next month, she said. So? She signed partnership clauses preventing competitors from merging during that period, Sarah explained. I still don't understand. Her eyes softened slightly. If I legally marry someone connected to the original patents, ownership conflicts reopen automatically. Realization hit slowly. You mean me? Yes, she said simply. Imran straightened instantly. Absolutely not. It's strategic, Sarah insisted. It's dangerous, he argued. I laughed nervously. You're proposing marriage like a business contract. She held my gaze. Because legally it is. And emotionally? I asked. She paused. Emotionally, she said quietly, it gives both of us our voices back. Silence filled the room. Maya whispered, that headline writes itself. Nora added, it could force investigations immediately. I leaned back, heart racing. You barely know me, I said. Sarah smiled faintly. I know enough. What if I refuse? Then we keep fighting slowly, she answered. While they grow stronger. Imran stared at me. If you hurt her, I will personally remove you from existence. Comforting, I muttered. I looked at forged signatures again. At months stolen from my life. Revenge doesn't always require destruction, Sarah said gently. Sometimes it requires perfect timing. I exhaled slowly. For the first time since the wedding, hope didn't feel like weakness. Tell me everything, I said. I didn't answer Sarah immediately. You're quiet, she said as we left the archive office. I'm deciding whether I'm losing my mind again, I replied. That rumor already exists, she said calmly. You won't damage it further. I almost laughed. Outside, evening traffic hummed around us. Imran walked several steps behind like a personal security alarm. You understand this isn't normal? I asked. Nothing about what they did to us was normal either, she answered. That doesn't make marriage a reasonable counterattack. It makes it effective, she said softly. I stopped walking. And if I become like Emily? Calculating. Cold. Sarah turned toward me. Then I walk away. Her certainty unsettled me more than anger would have. Nora joined us later that night at Mr. Hahn's cafe. Papers covered the small table while rain tapped the windows. Legally, Nora said, adjusting her glasses, a marriage merges patent influence under partnership law. So chaos follows, I muttered. Investigations reopen automatically, she replied. Mr. Hahn placed tea beside me. Young people marry for stranger reasons. This isn't romantic, I said. He smiled gently. Pain rarely introduces itself honestly. Sarah ignored the comment. Emily's gala happens in 12 days. Her charity honeymoon event, I said bitterly. Yes, she replied. Every investor attending. I stared at the table. She always loved audiences. Flashbacks pressed into my thoughts without permission. Emily once told me, you think ideas matter more than perception. I had laughed then. Now I understood. She trained me to depend on her approval, I admitted quietly. Sarah watched carefully. Say that again. I ignored warnings because she praised loyalty, I said. Anyone who questioned her became negative. Nora nodded slowly. Classic isolation strategy. I clenched my fist. I helped her push people out. You were manipulated, Sarah said. I still signed documents blindly, I replied. Silence followed. Imran finally spoke. Regret wastes time. Thank you for the empathy, I muttered. You want honesty, he answered. Earn redemption instead. Later that week we met Victor Hale. He chose a private restaurant corner like shadows belonged to him. I invest in opportunities, he said smoothly. And disasters. You funded Daniel's expansion, I said. He smiled. I fund many things. Sarah leaned forward. Including offshore accounts. Victor didn't deny it. Careful accusations require strong allies. We're offering exposure protection, Nora said calmly. He studied me. You're the ghost founder. I prefer survivor. He laughed quietly. Bold. What do you want? Delay Daniel's liquidity transfers, Sarah answered. Victor tapped his glass thoughtfully. Why? Because investigations are reopening, she said. And you plan to cause that with a wedding? He asked. I stiffened. His smile widened. Relax. Money hears everything. You'll help. I asked. I dislike monopolies, he replied. And Daniel forgets favors. Outside afterward, I exhaled sharply. That man scares me. He scares everyone, Sarah said. Are we becoming criminals? No, she answered. We're forcing truth into daylight. Preparations moved quietly after that. Simple paperwork. Witness arrangements. No flowers. One evening, while reviewing documents at my apartment, Sarah said, You don't have to pretend around me. I'm not pretending. You barely sleep, she replied. That makes two of us. She hesitated. Are you afraid? Yes, I admitted. Not of Emily. Of what revenge turns people into. She sat beside me. My career ended because I stayed silent, she said. I don't want revenge. I want balance. Her honesty felt heavier than strategy. Why trust me? I asked. She smiled faintly. Because you still apologize when you interrupt people. That's a low standard. It's rare, she said. We reviewed vows required for legal registration. I never imagined reading wedding vows again, I admitted. She looked down. Me neither. Do we write personal ones? It helps authenticity, she said. I hesitated. Authenticity in a fake marriage. She met my eyes. Intent matters more than labels. The night before the gala, Marcus called. You're actually doing this? He demanded. Yes. Emily's mentor arrived today, he warned. Richard Cole. My stomach tightened. Richard taught Emily negotiation tactics years ago. He always hated me, I said. He thinks you're unpredictable now, Marcus added. Good. The ceremony happened quietly at sunrise inside a government office. No music. No audience. Only Nora, Imran, and Mr. Han as witnesses. The clerk asked, Do you enter this union willingly? Sarah answered first. Yes. My throat felt dry. I remembered Emily whispering once, People only stay when success stays. I pushed the memory away. Yes, I said. After signatures, Sarah exhaled slowly. Well, she murmured. We're married. That sounds unreal. Imran shook my hand reluctantly. Break her heart and paperwork becomes your smallest problem. Encouraging again, I muttered. Outside, sunlight warmed cold streets. Sarah stood beside me longer than necessary. Are you okay? She asked. I expected triumph, I admitted. And? I feel calm, I said. Her smile softened. Across the city, Emily's gala live stream appeared on my phone. She stood beside Daniel under flashing cameras, perfect as always. Moments later, Nora called. It worked, she said breathlessly. Ownership conflict triggered. What happens now? Financial regulators reopened patent investigations, she replied. I watched headlines update in real time. Investors questioning. Shares freezing. Power shifting. Sarah squeezed my hand gently. Congratulations, she whispered. For revenge? I asked. She shook her head. For finally choosing yourself. The morning after my wedding to Sarah, headlines replaced alarm clocks. Corporate fraud investigation expands, the news anchor said from my phone screen. Sarah leaned against the kitchen counter. You're smiling. I didn't realize I was. You are, she said softly. Does it feel good? I hesitated. It feels unreal. Messages flooded my inbox. Investors requesting clarification. Former employees asking questions. One subject line read, We need to talk. Marcus called first. Chaos, he announced without greeting. Daniel's liquidity accounts froze overnight. That was fast, I said. Regulators move quickly when patents collide, he replied. Half their board resigned. I ended the call and stared at Sarah. This is actually happening, I whispered. She folded her arms. Karma rarely sends invitations. By noon, Maya's article went live. Stolen innovation, the founder who disappeared. She called immediately afterward. I used documents Nora verified, she said. Are you ready for attention? I never wanted attention. Too late, she laughed gently. Victims are contacting me already. Victims? Designers fired without severance, she explained. Engineers pressured into silence. My chest tightened. They trusted me once. Then help them now, she said before hanging up. Nora summoned us to her office that evening. They're requesting mediation, she announced. Already? I asked. Emily's legal team wants control of damage, she replied. Sarah looked at me. You don't have to attend. I do, I said quietly. The conference room smelled like expensive panic. Daniel sat rigidly at one end. Emily across from him. Seeing her again felt like reopening a wound I thought had scarred. You look healthy, she said coldly. You look surprised, I answered. Her eyes shifted briefly toward Sarah beside me. So the rumors are true, she muttered. You married her. Sarah replied calmly, Good afternoon. Daniel slammed a folder down. You triggered regulatory chaos. You forged ownership transfers, I said. Emily leaned forward. You lost control long before that. I lost trust, I corrected. She laughed sharply. You were drowning us financially. That's not what audits show, Nora interrupted. Documents slid across the table. Emily flipped pages quickly. These are manipulated, she snapped. They're original filings, Nora replied. Daniel stood abruptly. This meeting is pointless. Before he could leave, another man entered quietly. He looked younger than Emily but shared her sharp eyes. Sit down, he told her gently. Armin, she whispered. He nodded once before turning to me. I asked to attend. Who are you? Daniel demanded. My brother, Emily answered tightly. Armin sat across from me. I wanted to meet the man she never stopped comparing others to. Emily glared. Stop. He ignored her. She told our family you lacked ambition, he said calmly. That sounds familiar, I replied. She also said you scared her, he added. I frowned. Scared? She believed kindness makes people weak, he continued. Success terrified her more than loneliness. Emily slammed her hand down. Enough. Sarah spoke softly beside me. Truth feels loud when hidden too long. Daniel scoffed. You're enjoying this. I wasn't sure. I thought I would, I admitted. Emily's voice softened suddenly. You humiliated me publicly. You erased me professionally, I answered. I protected the company, she insisted. You protected control, I said. Nora opened another file. Psychological evaluations submitted under false authorization, she stated. Emily froze. That's illegal, Armin whispered. She avoided his eyes. You signed them knowingly? I asked quietly. Silence answered first. Then she said, barely audible, investors demanded stability. So you declared me unstable, I said. Her voice cracked. You hesitated when decisions mattered. I asked questions, I replied. Daniel interrupted angrily. We offered growth. You offered theft, Sarah said. Emily suddenly laughed, almost desperate. You think you won? She asked me. Markets recover. Maybe, I said. But trust doesn't. Armin pushed another envelope toward Nora. I brought copies, he said. Emily stared at him in disbelief. You betrayed me? I protected you for years, he answered quietly. But this crossed lines. Inside were emails. Her instructions. Asset transfers. My forged signatures discussed openly. Proof. The room fell silent except for Daniel swearing under his breath. Emily looked at me then, not angry, not proud. Just tired. I loved you once, she whispered. I felt nothing like victory. I loved who you pretended to be, I answered. Tears filled her eyes before disappearing behind stubborn calm. Daniel stormed out. Nora closed the folder slowly. This changes everything. Outside afterward, reporters gathered. Maya waved from behind cameras. Statement? She asked. I shook my head. Later, alone with Sarah, I sat in the car watching city lights blur. Well? She asked gently. Well, what? Do you feel better? I searched honestly. I imagined satisfaction, I admitted. Instead I feel heavy. She nodded. Do you want revenge? She asked softly, or peace? I didn't answer immediately. Because somewhere between betrayal and justice, I realized karma had already arrived, and it didn't need my help to finish the work. The courthouse felt colder than any battlefield I imagined during sleepless nights. Cameras waited outside, but inside everything sounded muted, like truth preferred quiet rooms. Sarah adjusted her sleeve beside me. Last chance to walk away. I already stayed too long once, I replied. She nodded. Then finish it. Nora approached carrying files. The hearing focuses on liability confirmation, she said. No speeches. Just facts. Facts destroyed my life once, I muttered. Today they rebuild it, she answered. Inside, Daniel avoided looking at anyone. Emily sat alone at the opposite table. No designer confidence. No perfect smile. Just exhaustion wearing expensive clothes. When proceedings began, lawyers argued timelines and signatures. Words like fraud and coercion echoed through the room. I barely listened until Emily's attorney said, "My client wishes to address the claimant directly." Nora leaned toward me. "You can refuse." "I won't," I whispered. We stepped into a smaller mediation room afterward. Only Emily and I remained. She spoke first. "You look different." "I sleep now," I said. "That must be nice." Silence followed before she laughed weakly. "I thought you would celebrate seeing this." "Seeing what?" "My collapse," she said. "I didn't come for that." She studied me carefully. "You always lied badly." "I stopped lying when you stopped listening," I replied. Her hands trembled slightly. "Do you know why I did it?" "I've heard many versions." "I believed kindness fails," she said quietly. "Every mentor told me founders get replaced if they hesitate." "Richard Cole?" I said. She nodded once. "He said you would destroy everything by trusting people," she continued. "Investors agreed. So you erased me first." "I protected what we built," she insisted. "You protected control," I answered gently. Her voice cracked. "You were too kind to survive success." The words landed strangely soft. "I remember staying awake fixing payroll errors," I said. "You told me leadership meant sacrifice." "It does. But not betrayal." She looked down. Outside the glass wall, lawyers waited patiently. "I'm facing bankruptcy," she whispered. "Daniel already transferred assets overseas." "That doesn't surprise me. I thought he loved ambition the way I did," she admitted bitterly. "And now I understand ambition doesn't hold hands when storms come." For the first time I felt sadness instead of anger. She looked at me again. "Did you ever really love me?" The question hurt more than accusations ever had. I took a long breath. "I loved who you pretended to be," I said quietly. Tears filled her eyes. "That's cruel." "No," I replied. "Cruel would be pretending I still do." She covered her face briefly before lowering her hands again. "I was afraid you'd leave once success changed you," she admitted. "I never wanted success without you," I said. "That was the problem," she whispered. We sat in silence. Finally she asked, "Are you going to destroy me completely?" I thought about sleepless nights, about rumors calling me unstable, about empty bank accounts and humiliation. Then I remembered Sarah waiting outside. "I don't need to," I answered. She frowned. "Consequences already exist," I continued. "Courts will decide the rest." "You forgive me?" she asked. "I understand you," I said slowly. "That's different." She nodded weakly. When we returned to the courtroom, decisions moved quickly. Liability confirmed. Assets frozen. Investigations expanded. Outside, reporters shouted questions. Maya raised her recorder. "Final comment?" I shook my head. "Truth speaks for itself." Marcus hugged me unexpectedly. "You survived." "Barely." Lena wiped tears openly. "Mom would be proud." Mr. Hahn handed me coffee from a thermos. Victory tastes better warm. Later that evening, Sarah and I walked along the river. "No strategy meetings tomorrow," she said. "That sounds terrifying." She smiled softly. "We should talk about us," she added. "I was hoping you'd say that." She stopped walking. "Do you regret marrying me?" I considered carefully. "At first it felt like armor," I admitted. "Now it feels like partnership." Her eyes softened. "I don't want revenge defining our life," she said. "Neither do I." She slipped her hand into mine. Months passed quietly after that. Debts cleared as courts restored stolen shares. Employees returned messages again. Some even apologized. On the anniversary of 2 weddings, the one that ended me and the one that rebuilt me, Sarah placed breakfast on the table. "Happy anniversary," she said. "Which one?" I asked. She smiled. "The important one." Sunlight filled the apartment gently. For the first time in years, success didn't feel urgent. Silence didn't hurt. And revenge no longer sounded like victory. Freedom did. I finally understood something simple. I didn't win because she lost. I won because I found myself again.
If this story stayed with you, subscribe now for the next powerful story.